Blog Talk Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Chrism, and I'd like to welcome you to a conversation about your Kundalini awakening experience here on Blog Talk Radio. Today, as promised last week, we'll be doing a live mass healing of the Fukushima Nuclear Disaster in the north end of Japan. And so I would like you all to, if you can get a pen and paper, if you're in a position where you can get a pen and pencil out or pen and paper, and get ready to write some things down if you need to. I'm not saying that you have to, but there is part of this context where it's helpful to write things down. Before we get started, though, I'd like to welcome Amelia Santana onto the program. Hello, Amelia. How are you?
Hello, Chrism. I'm very well. Thank you. It's good to be here. I think the sound is good, Chrism. You're coming through loud and clear, as I hope I am.
Oh, good. Is John helping us in the other room?
Yes, John is in the other room, so he will let us know should there be any difficulty. Again, in the chat room, maybe people would let us know as well. So if I can begin by giving out the website that you can go to if you'd like to make a donation and support the work that Chrism does on Kundalini Awakening Systems. The address you can go to is ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com, and on the right upper hand side of the page you will see a donate button, and it's very simple and easy to use. And so if you are in a position to donate, and if you wish to do so, please go there to ascension-kundalini.blogspot.com. And if I could say something as well for a moment or two about the seminars that we're organising for 2014. The first seminars are going to be held in March, and we know the dates already, so if you have that wire out, you can write them down. The first one is going to be held on the East Coast, most probably in the New York area, but a venue hasn't definitely been decided on yet. But the date for that is the 22nd of March and the 23rd of March. And if you're on the East Coast and you have an interest in attending that, I would encourage you to write and let me know. And the address you can write to is, actually going completely blank. What's my address, Chrism? Kundalini Matters. Kundalini Matters @gmail.com. And if you're in Europe, there's a seminar going to be held the following weekend, and that's on the 29th and the 30th of March. And it's going to be held in Dublin in the same venue that we had the last seminar in October. And again, please make contact with me, and I can help you there with regards to travelling and give you information on flights and that sort of thing. I'm a bit of a travel agent when it comes to Ryanair, so please feel free to contact me again on kundalinimatters@gmail.com. And I hope to see many of you at the seminar, and I would encourage you to really consider coming. If you're getting an inclination, or if you're getting a communication from your Kundalini that you should come, please take the time to consider it and do come. It will be well worth your while. So that's it, Chrism. I'm looking forward to the show.
No, thank you. Thank you for your announcements, Amelia. And just in case people don't know what a hyphen is, like me when I was, last year, a hyphen is a dash between the words. So if I was going to put a hyphen between 1 and 2, it would be 1-2. So in this case, it's, yeah.
Sorry, Chrism. Sorry I interrupted you. I wanted to say something about another seminar that's happening in September. And Rosemary is hosting that in Minnesota. It's going to be on, as far as I know, the last week. Within the last 2 weeks of September 2014. So if that part of the USA is convenient or good for you, please put that in your diary as well. In Minnesota at the end of September. And there'll be more details coming through on that later. Sorry, Chrism, you were saying about hyphens.
To make a donation, you can go to ascension-kundalini blogspot.com, I believe, and you can go there. The other areas that you may want to look at for this kind of information is that go onto YouTube if you want to see videos, and go to Chrism.Kundalini on YouTube, and I have about 275 videos there. And then you can also go to Chrism Kundalini on Facebook, or Chris Mitchell on Facebook, and you can reach my page there, and you can either follow that page or you can just read that page and see if it agrees with you. It shouldn't agree completely with you because most of us are run by our ego, and therefore, if your ego's saying, yeah, do this, you might want to look at that a little differently. So you have that option as well. And then you can also just write to me directly at K, as in Kundalini, K Fire for All. So that's KFIRE FORALL at yahoo.com. So kfireforall@yahoo.com. You can also go to the site that Glenn Ola in Australia has designed and maintained for Kundalini Awakening Systems 1, and that is Kundalini Awakening Systems, the number 1.com. And you can visit that website and get much information from that website as well. As promised last week, we are going into a mass healing event with Fukushima. Fukushima has the capacity to drastically change all of our lives in very, very pronounced, specific ways. And all of this, I think, is due to the greed and the lack of foresight given from people who maybe had more of an interest in how much money they could make rather than how safe they could make a nuclear reactor. And we have other examples of this in the United States as well. So, by no means are we to castigate or show any disfavor to the Japanese. The Japanese did not plan on having a huge tsunami wreck their coastline. Okay? They didn't plan on it. So, and I know they're doing as best that they possibly can do to correct this situation. They're really, they're the ones that are suffering the most right now because, the radiation is spreading all over the land, it's spreading, through the water, through the coastline, through the air. And so when we begin to do this healing, I want you to keep in mind that the Japanese are suffering the most right now. We'll be suffering later on too, unless we can do these healings. But right now, I don't want any finger of blame pointed at anyone. Right now, we need to work from a position of forgiveness and unity of humanity, and unity of intention within this healing that we're about to do. Okay. Now, the healing methodology that I find the most appropriate for Kundalini is currently a practice put out by Max Freedom Long back in the 30s and 40s of the last century. And I'm going to read a little bit about him. Max Freedom Long discovered, named, and developed Kuna prayers through extensive study of the ancient Hawaiian language. It's not like making a wish or a normal way of praying. It is a manifesting procedure that is powerful and effective. It involves using the three minds, The conscious mind gives a direction to the subconscious mind, which is the world of dreams and belief, and invokes the higher mind, which has the ability to connect with God. In order for a prayer to reach the higher self, the conscious mind must raise the vital force necessary to propel the prayer through the subconscious mind. The higher self can then connect with beings and energies to help bring about the desired result. Okay. The Hawaiians wrote a lot of what Max Freedom, almost all of what Max Freedom Long was able to learn with regards to the Huna prayer. Huna prayer is unlike your conventional prayer, and within a Christian or a Buddhist or a Islamic or whatever mainstream religion you may partake of, if any. This is not the way that most people within those prayers will understand how to pray. This prayer involves an actuation of energy. And for you to understand this, I have to explain a little bit more about this actuation of energy. The human being has the capacity to turn certain levels of pranic energy into a powerful force of manifestation. The human body itself has the ability to almost instantaneously, change pranic energy into another form of energy that, for lack of a better term, we'll just call mana. M as in Mary, A-N-A. Now, mana and prana are the same, except one has gone through the transformation through the human system and changed it into a form of energy that we will call mana. And the mana is what is sent to the high self, or to your Kundalini, from your lower self, which would be your consciousness, or the ego aspect of who you are. And you got to remember that as much as you're taught, and you hear me say it, you hear other people say it, oh, don't do anything that the ego says. Well, you also understand that you never ever hear me or read of me saying to destroy, obliterate, kill, or do any other kind of harm to the ego. I am not an ego killer, so to speak. I realize that the ego is part of who we are, and because it's part of who we are, there is a holy aspect to the ego as well. And it is this holy aspect of the ego, or your, as the Hawaiians would call you, the unihipili aspect of yourself. This is the person that will relay your information directly to the Kundalini. We have to use all of ourselves in order to initiate this kind of a prayer. So your higher mental consciousness self, what the Hawaiians would call the uhane, but we'll just call it your higher mental functioning self, needs to decide what it is it wants to have done. In this case, healing Fukushima. So take out that pen and paper and write down the prayer that you want to have occur. So you say stopping radioactive release from Fukushima from doing any damage to the surrounding environment. Okay? You're not taking away the radioactivity. You're just not allowing it to cause harm to any of the environment around it. Which is not to say that you're saying, you're taking away all the effects of the radiation. Well, that's not true. Okay? We're being very, very, very specific here, and we're giving a healing to stop the negative aspects, or the hurtful, harmful aspects of the radiation from damaging the environment of the Pacific Ocean, of the Japanese islands, of any of the land masses of this world, but also from the plankton, shielding the fish, shielding the zooplankton, shielding all life and minerals from the harmful effects of the radiation that's leaking out of the Fukushima nuclear reactor. So write it down in a way that you're comfortable with. See if you can fit it into 1 or 2 sentences. And so we'll just write that down, piece of paper. Give you a chance to do that. Just take a moment and think about it. Healing the effects of nuclear radiation that is hurtful to life and the environment of this world. At the Fukushima nuclear reactor in Japan. On this day, at this time, okay, on this day, at this time, remember, we're not doing it tomorrow. We're doing it today, December 4th, 2013, 3:16 p.m. on the west coast of the United States. Now, if this is another day, if this is December 5th, where you are, well, then go ahead and lock it down as December 5th, where you are, at whatever time it is where you are. Okay? Give you a few more seconds here to formulate that prayer. It's, read it right for yourself. It's got to read right for yourself. You're not going to be allowed to not have humans pay some sort of a price for their greed and for allowing that kind of a situation to develop. It's called hubris. Humanity thinks it's so strong and powerful that it can just put up a silly little wall and expect to stop a tsunami. It's amazing level of hubris with this. Okay, so people inevitably will have to pay a price, but the planet does not have to pay that price. Okay, but if you want to go ahead and put healing of all people involved, then that's fine. That's fine too. I'm not gonna say anything against that. Okay. So I'm going to assume that you have your sentences available, and I'm going to look on the studio here. Everybody that's on the chat room, I see Julie's there, I see Sigrid's there, and a lot of guests. So I want to welcome everybody there. I would like to also welcome everybody who's tuning in from the archives. When you reach this information or this conversation on the archives, at that date and at that time is when you begin your healing. Okay? You don't have to do it right all at the same time. Okay? This isn't going to be happening instantaneously, although some aspects of it will, of course, be instantaneous. I want this to be a 28-day to 30-day healing, something that you do every day. Okay, and I'll give you it's a very relaxing thing to do. This is something that you don't need to grunt and groan and stress and sweat about this. This is done from a position of higher consciousness, a sacred healing that involves your higher mental functioning self, your lower self, and the Kundalini, which is the highest self that is waiting for you to develop this communication. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to ask the chat group users if you can tell me if I'm coming through clearly, as we've had some sound issues before. Am I coming through clearly for those in the chat group? Just one of you answer yes or no, and we can move on from there. So nobody's typing. Okay. So I will. There she is. Thank you, Julie. Yeah. Amelia, are you okay? All right. Okay. I see it's choppy at times. Well, okay, I'll just have to do my best with this then. Okay. I want you to kind of sit in a relaxed position. Okay. Sit in a relaxed position, and I want to talk with you a little bit about what it is you're going to be developing, and this is called mana, M-A-N-A. So M as in Mary, A as in apple, N as in Nancy, A as in apple. This is from Max Freedom Long himself. The Kahuna recognized the magnetic and the opposite repelling nature of vital force, or mana. They knew the force as a thing which had to do with all thought processes and bodily activities. The life force was and is the essence of life itself. The Kahuna symbol for this life force is water. Water flows, and so does vital force flow. Water fills things, so does the vital force. Water may leak away, and so may vital force. All thinking involves an electrical-like activity of the mana. The word mana-o means thinking. The O is added to show that the process is one of using mana to produce thought. As each thought is formed, it is given its body and is fastened by a thread of the same substance. Basically, it's talking about all your thoughts are fastened by a thread of mana to the other thoughts which came before it. This is why I like you to do this healing over a number of days, so that all of these thoughts that are given and these prayers are given at different times on different days are all connected to each other. Mana is taken from the food and the air by the basic self and is stored in the bodies of the self, the physical, mental, emotional, psychological, egoic, and the spiritual bodies of the person. The mana, when used as life force of the middle self, is changed in some subtle ways. The ancient kahunas symbolized this as dividing of the basic mana into two kinds. One called it mana, indicating that it was doubled in power, so that it could be used by the middle self to direct the inner or basic, or as we know, the ego self to be. This is the force we know vaguely in modern psychology as the will. It is also the force which should at all times be strong enough to make the inner self or ego self carry out every suggestion. It is seldom used in its full strength, and so the basic self gets out of hand. It can get out of hand. It doesn't have to get out of hand, but sometimes it'll flip from one activity to another without carrying out any of the suggestions or commands fully. So we're just going to make it really easy and simple for the ego self to understand this. Here's the action of accumulating a surcharge or a greater charge of mana is by taking a slow, deep breath. Now, we all know that this gives us an extra amount of energy if we're trying to do some sort of a physical thing. But this is what I was talking about earlier. This is about taking from prana and changing it into mana. We take our prana from the food, we take our prana from the environment, we take our prana from the water, we take our prana from our breath, from our breathing. Okay, this is how the human being is able to manifest energies taken from the environment. All of it is prana. But for our purposes and for this healing, we're changing that prana into mana. Now, as I said before, this is the closest thing that I've been able to find without just going into my Kundalini and giving it. My Kundalini wants you to hear this, which is why I've been directed to give it to you. This doesn't matter what religion you belong to or what belief system you partake of. This doesn't matter any of those things. And this gives you a very safe and complete process of power prayer that will give you results. You will get results from this. If you do this, you will get results. So this is why it's so very important for you to be very careful about what it is you're asking to have happen. You can't say, like in this prayer, you can't say, oh, take out all the radioactivity in Fukushima. You can't do that. What you can do is you can deal with the effects of that radiation. And you can, depending upon the divine will, this is all dependent upon the divine will, then depending upon that will, your prayer will be heard and acted upon. So you need to take a slow, deep breath. And you don't have to really push. This is not about having a lot of effort involved. How much effort does it take to have a slow, deep breath? Okay? Now, you can use certain visualizing techniques. So if you can visualize the water around Fukushima or emptying out of Fukushima as pure water, pure, beautiful, clear seawater, water that was there, 200 years ago. Okay? You can visualize that, and then you can add the mana to it. Okay? So as you visualize this and you're developing energy for it, this vital force that's changing from prana to mana because of the activity of your lungs and your intentions and your visualizing. Okay, you can use these surcharges of mana in several valuable ways, including the healing of ourselves and others, and in making prayer action that will have real power because you're using real power. In many of the ways that we do our prayers these days, we don't know anything about prana or mana. Okay, we don't know that we can literally transform pranic energy into mana or mana loa. Okay, the Hawaiians knew this. They kept their oral tradition intact. Their oral tradition, as it's a lot of its basis in the Egyptian mystery schools. Before the Hawaiians left that area and traveled, over land and sea to make it to Hawaii, they were using these techniques that whole time. Okay, these go beyond the realm of what science figures is possible. So I just need you to know that. So as you visualize this healing, as you read it in the message that you've written down, and as we begin to do some of these breathing techniques, you're using power to effect a prayer. So you're actually doing a power prayer. And yes, you can do this for yourself. You can do this for others. You can do this for Fukushima. Okay? Into this breathing a little bit. Okay, so I want you to be in good health already. Okay. So let's see here. Now I have done this. I have done this on my own. I did this back in 2006, and it worked. It worked. And you may ask questions like, "Oh, why isn't he rich as a casino, or why doesn't he do this for himself in order to?" Well, I do. I do some of these power prayers for the program. I tend not to want to do things like this for myself because there are other reasons that the Kundalini wants people to donate. Donation on the outside looks like it's a gift to Chrism, but it's actually a lot more than that. It's a gift to the person making the gift. Okay? So very important for a person to understand why I haven't been using this for myself, but I also use it for the people on the prayer lists. You get to a point where you can constantly manufacture mana, the double strength of the prana that's developed in the human body as we do our breathing. Kundalini gives you a much stronger and wider connection with itself as you have been touched by that grace. So does that grace work through you. But you can use this power prayer, this form of power praying, even if you have awakened Kundalini. One of the main things you need to understand is that you cannot do harm with this. Do no hurt or harm to anyone or thing. Okay? You need to understand that. So let me repeat it. You do no hurt or harm to any living thing. Okay? Now let's see. Before we get started on this, do I have any questions from the people on the chat group? Looks like I have Elizabeth Dalton Gonzalez. Hello, Elizabeth. And Julie, Celestial Rubies, and Sigrid, and Vashti. Hello. Hello, everybody. Has the conversation so far been easy to listen to? I'm getting different things here. It looks like it's having a hard time listening. Now, why is that? Anybody? Can somebody on the chat group write about, like, Vashti, you're having a hard time listening? Am I going too slow? Is it choppy? What's going on? Before I start into this with great energy, I want to make sure that we're not all just wasting our time here, having, depending on technology to catch up. Amelia, if you could ask John if he's able to hear this okay. I see.
Yes, he is.
Every now and again there's a bit of bother.
Yeah, no, he says here that it's actually okay. Every now and then it gets a little bit hollow, but he's not getting that choppy here at all.
Okay, and Julie says it's still choppy at times, but she's able to follow it. Okay, then. Sigrid, I hope it's coming in well for you, and Elizabeth, for you as well, and Vashti. It seems like you're logging in and out, so you may be trying to correct that on your end. Okay, then. Let's give Vashti a moment to come back. Okay. So with that statement that you wrote on your piece of paper, I want you to read it 3 times slowly to yourself. I want you to be seated in a semi-dark room if you can. This is optimal environments. I didn't give you any warning of this, so the way and where you are right now is fine. But when you start doing this for your repetition for the 28 to 30 days, try to be in a dimly lit room, in a comfortable chair, at a temperature that is comfortable for you. Okay? You can leave your hands open. Okay? I.e., you don't have to go into the Kundalini Mudra, but if your Kundalini moves you into that mudra, well, that's fine too. We always pay attention to what the Kundalini moves us to do. All right. Oh, okay. Thank you, Elizabeth. I see that. Okay, very good. Yes, but sometimes choppy, easy to follow. All right. Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate it. All right. So give yourself the opportunity to sit in a chair that's comfortable. Look at the little message that you've written to yourself using your power by holding that pen or pencil and engraving that piece of paper. Okay, you've already begun to use power. Now I want you to take a slow, easy inhalation and hold it for about 7 seconds. So if you go ahead and breathe in now, breathe in and 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000, 6, 1,000, 7, 1,000. Exhale that energy and feel that lift, that energetic rise that came from your breath. Okay, just from taking that breath, you inhaled, you held it for 7 seconds, and you exhaled. And in that moment, the prana that you inhaled has been transformed into mana. Okay, this is now mana energy that is within you. Okay, and that brief flash of energy is what you'll use to hand to your lower self, your unihipili self, your ego self, and ask that ego self to shine that energy with the words in the message to the higher self. I know this sounds complex, but it's not really. This is about as easy and effective power prayer as you can do. Okay? So you inhale, so you read the message, you inhale, you hold the breath for 7 seconds and focus on what the message is saying, what that little message you gave to yourself is saying. Exhale, and it's like a J. It's like a J, a capital J. You start at the higher functioning consciousness, which is what we're calling the middle self. Middle self puts the body into this breathing repetition. Okay, so the middle self says, okay, I'm going to read this message, and I'm going to inhale, I'm going to hold it for 7 seconds, and then you send that energy that you feel on the exhalation to your first self. So the energy is going down to the ego, and the ego is sending that with your visualization and the message that's on the piece of paper to your Kundalini. This is helpful because you don't have to have Kundalini awakened in order to do this. But you can't do any harm to anyone or yourself or the environment. Okay? So just remember that. So as you inhale, hold it for 7 seconds, send it down to your first self, who sends it all the way up to the higher self, which would be your Kundalini. And Kundalini, and even in the Huna sense, this is all taken, from Max Friedman's understandings of Huna. The Huna is also, they also recognize their Kundalini. They call the Kundalini Amakua, Amakua, Amakua. So the Amakua is also sacred male and sacred female. So it's just another word for Kundalini. Okay, so know that you are in familiar waters with this. Even if you don't have Kundalini awakened, if you've listened to any of these conversations, your familiarity with this has been growing. Okay, so you should be in familiar waters with this. And whenever you're hearing this, in the archives or right now, you will be part of this healing equation. So every time you take a breath now, you're going to read that little message that you wrote on the paper. You're going to visualize it. You're going to inhale, hold the breath for 7 seconds. As you exhale, you send that energy to your ego, who bounces that energy with your visualization straight up to the Kundalini. In this way, all aspects of our human equation are being used in a very specific way. You're not killing or obliterating the ego. The ego is now a partner. It's now a partner in this. And the ego can be seen really as your inner child. And we don't kill our children. We don't obliterate our children. We teach the child how to do the most appropriate thing. And by and large, the ego children want to be a part of this equation. They see it as fun, as exciting. Okay, and so your ego, by the virtue of the fact you're even here listening to these words that I'm saying, your ego is complicit in this healing. It wants to perform this healing. Now, granted, later on it'll want to be known as the great and powerful healer. You can make those corrections if and when that time comes. Okay, so we're at the point where we read the message, we inhale gently and deeply for 7 seconds. We exhale, and you'll feel it first in your head and then in your chest. And you give that energy to your first self. The ego self is the first self. Okay? The first self will transmit that energy and that message with that energy to the third self, which is the Amakua Kundalini. Okay, the second self is your higher functioning mental conscious self. And just as an aside, for the evolutionary of the soul, the lower self becomes, the first self becomes the second self becomes the third self, okay? And that is the spiritual evolution of this type of a belief system. And they've actually, they've researched tuna, and they find it to be the most psychologically complete belief system in the world. Tuna is very, very powerful, and the Kundalini loves it. Okay, so any questions about that now? I'm gonna go real slow here because I want people to get this right. So you're reading from the piece of paper. You visualize what it is you're reading. You take a deep, easy breath. You hold it for 7 seconds. You exhale the breath slowly so that you can feel that energy come up to the top of your head and your chest, and even into your hands a little bit. Okay? And then you give that energy to your first self with the instruction to project it like a movie to the third self, the Amakua, the Kundalini. Okay? So I added one little thing, I just added into the instruction is to have the first self project it like a movie. You know that the light in front of the film is what allows the picture of the movie to appear. You might want to try that as a way to help the ego self or your inner child project that up. Okay? Any questions at this point from anybody in the chat room? Feel free to ask a question. This is all about learning here too. I want you to do this 28 to 30 days. Once you decide on how many days, then I want you to follow that through. So if you decide on 30, then I want you to do 30. If you decide on 28, then I want you to do 28. Don't shorten it or lengthen it for convenience levels, though. Okay? Do not try to control how your Kundalini uses this energy. Once your first self has given it to the Kundalini, then it's gone. And it's for the Kundalini to use as the Kundalini sees fit. Not your ego and not you, the higher functioning mental consciousness. Once it's given to the Kundalini, it stays with the Kundalini. And you don't get to have any control over how this prayer is responded to or how any kind of manifestation associated with this prayer is to be given. You and your ego, so the first and the second selves, do not get to control what the third self or the Kundalini does with this energy. yourself from controlling the Kundalini. Any questions from the chat group? Waiting. I don't see anybody typing, so okay. Amelia, Rosemary, I'm going to bring you both on. Any questions that you want to ask? Rosemary?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, are you able to hear me all right?
I can. And the only thing, this sound sometimes is warbled. That's my expression for it. But it passes. It's just like a little wave, but it's still understandable. So thank you very much for this. This is very touching.
Well, yeah, this is going to touch. This will definitely touch. Good. Amelia?
No, I'm fine with this as well, Chrism.
All right, taking you off. Okay. So you don't get to control what the Kundalini does with this energy that you're giving. You just need to trust and have faith that the Kundalini will use it in a way that is most beneficial for all involved. And by all, I mean the zooplankton, the phytoplankton, the actual consciousness of the water itself, of the land, of the earth, of the radioactivity, all of it will be worked with, but not in the way that you may wish for or hope for. And so just trust that your Kundalini, your Amakua, knows exactly what to do with that energy. And remember what I said at the beginning, that you're going to have little threads of mana or manaloa attached to these prayers. And it doesn't go away. Once you attach this power, this manaloa, to the prayer, it stays. You have created a prayer object. And the Kundalini will use and consume that prayer object to bring about the healing in whatever way the Kundalini wants it to come about. Okay? Let me read to you a little bit more about this. Okay, so I've talked with you about the breathing, and we know that taking a slow, deep breath will give us an extra amount of energy. And we can use certain combined and specific mental images to accumulate a surcharge, such as visualization or reading it. Reading the message on the piece of paper is very, very effective, because at the same time you read, you're visualizing what it is you're reading in your mind. So not only are you seeing and visualizing in the physical, but you're also doing that in the higher functioning mental state as well. Let's see. The kahuna is like a minister of the Huna faith. Let me bring this over here. The kahuna believed that by an action of the mind, a person adds to the amount of mana created from food and air. The extraction process is quickened. Okay. This theory is supported by our physiologists, who have found that when we digest food, it is not all used at once, but is changed into blood sugar or into glycogen. The body changes the power that we use to digest our food. Okay, the basic self, or what we're calling the unihili or the ego self, tends to all such matters of digestion, automatic heart rate, automatic temperature control. All of these basic structures within the human being are controlled by the first self, our inner child. And as the first self learns to do this easily in most cases, to take the power from the breath that we hold for 7 seconds, we can always have this power to accomplish whatever we truly and justly need. The accumulation of a surcharge of vital force is accomplished simply by explaining to the first self, our ego self, just what it is to be done, and then asking it to do it. And to help the first self, we can start by breathing more deeply, adding the thought of accumulating a large surcharge of mana power, and the process begins. Okay? As I mentioned before, the kahuna used the symbol of water for mana, and when the kahuna wished to accumulate a surcharge, they breathed deeply and visualized mana rising like a water rising in a fountain, higher and higher until it overflowed, and the body is visualized as a fountain with the water flowing out the top of the head, just like the Kundalini. I'm sorry, I got garbled because my volume increased on that one. My apologies. But it is very much like a Kundalini, and you know, I will suggest that you use that as a way of seeing yourself while you're making these prayers. Okay, so let's go back, and it looks like nobody's asked me any more questions. Okay, let's see, we have 1, 2, 3, 10, 11. That's perfect. Okay, all righty. So I would like everybody to get into a comfortable position. Move around a little bit, stand up, shake, do whatever. We've been talking for almost an hour now, getting you ready for this. Now, when I look at Fukushima, I look at the earth, the air, the water. Okay, I look at all the mammals, all the invertebrates, all the crustaceans, all the fish. I look at the water itself, the hydrogen, the H2O, the 2 hydrogens and the 1 oxygen, and I look at that and I include that in my healing. Okay, so it's almost like you get a collage of water, air, earth, energy. That's how I'm seeing it. Okay, I trust the Kundalini will not allow me to do anything harmful with this. And because it's the Kundalini that is actually doing the work here, you can rest assured that your Kundalini will work with the energy you give it in a very productive, positive, and helpful way. Okay? This is a great way for you to begin to assimilate your first self, your ego self. Okay? And what I mean by assimilation is, I mean working in partnership with a positive relationship with the ego self, your inner child. Okay? This helps the inner child develop the skills and the resources that it needs in order to become a higher mental functioning middle self or second self. And this teaching the ego or your inner child is also a great resource for your own evolution into the Kundalini. You who are higher mental functioning second selves, your next stop is Kundalini. If you haven't got it already, it's coming. It's coming. Okay? And believe me, you'll learn more about surrender, when it comes in full. And I don't mean that as a scary way. I just mean it in a way that is, you get to really be taught in a very hands-on way. My mother, who will probably eventually hear this, so hello, Mom. She used to grab me by the ear and drag me on over to whatever chore it was she was asking me to do, and that I was obviously resisting doing. And so she would take me by the ear to indicate that I haven't been listening to her, and if I had been listening, I wasn't hearing what she wanted me to do. So she would take me by the ear and take to whatever job I was supposed to be doing for her, and that helped me to focus on the job that I was supposed to be doing for her. In the same way, sometimes you may have to take your ego by the ear and have do the work that you're intending for it to do. I'm not saying that you have to do that all the time, hopefully not. But for 28 to 30 days, I want you and your child self, your ego self, to participate in this healing for Fukushima. It's very, very important. Fukushima has the possibility of changing our lives in very drastic ways. And if you're not looking at a drastic change, then give a healing to the environment, to the air, to the water, to the life forms that are around it. You know, give your love and give your grace, give your power into this healing. So as you're seated, comfortable, look at the message. 7 seconds. So I'm gonna talk to it right now. I'm gonna do it with you. And here we go. Give that to your first self. And have the first self project that energy to your Kundalini. That is a complete equation. Right there. It's a J. J is for joy. Okay? And now breathe it again and hold it for 7 seconds. And inhale. 1, 1,000. 2, 1,000. 3, 1,000. 4, 1,000. 5, 1,000. 6, 1,000. 7, 1,000. Exhale. Feel the energy in your head and your chest, and give it to your first self to shine at the Kundalini. Feel the Kundalini. Accept it from your younger self, your ego self, your first self. And the reason why it's called the first self is because it's closest to the first chakra, and it has a lot of the qualities of the first chakra embedded in its natural expression, such as heartbeat, body temperature, security issues, all of that. That's why it's called the first self. It's also the most dense self that you have among the 4 selves that you are. And the 4 selves would be the Unihipili, or the first self, the Uhane, or the higher mental functioning consciousness, and then the male and female of the Kundalini. Let's do it again. Inhale and hold. 1,001, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exhale. Give that energy to your first self and instruct it to shine it like a movie to the Kundalini. And do this continuously now. You don't need to have me count for you. You do this automatically now. Now, there are other Kundalini techniques, and I want you to keep doing this as I talk. Keep breathing. Count to yourself. Give the energy of the exhalation to your first self, your ego self, and ask the ego self, or tell it, command it, to shine that message that you're holding in your hands in beautiful lighted letters to the Kundalini. And do this. Now, on a daily basis, you only need to do this for about 15 to 21 minutes. So that's not very long. That's not even a decent meditation. Okay, but every day for 15 to 21 minutes, do this. But if that much is too much time for you and your busy schedule to do, then do it for 9 minutes. But do it every day, because the accumulated energetic threads will hang on to these prayers that you're doing. The power doesn't go away. You've made mana from prana. And that power does not go away. Okay? So connect those threads. It's like weaving a tapestry of healing for Fukushima. You're weaving a tapestry of healing for the earth, for the air, for the water, for the life that is there and is on this planet. This is your chance to make a difference. So make this difference. Make this difference. Okay. Read what you wrote on your little paper guide. I'm going to repeat this because I see new people are signing on. So write down the kind of healing that you want to give to Fukushima. Okay? Write down the healing. Take a nice, easy, deep breath and hold it for 7 seconds. Keep looking at the message, maybe, as you hold it in your hand. At the end of 7 seconds, exhale the air, but you'll feel the energy. And give that energy to your first self and give the command to shine that energy to the Kundalini through the message so that the letters are lit up with energy. Do this over and over, and don't change it up. Don't change the message that you've written. Don't change the technique. Keep it strong. Keep it pure for 28 to 30 days. Now, even just now, what we're doing right now is having immediate effect on the radiation levels that are being pumped into the Pacific right now. I can already see it. Okay? Have confidence in what is occurring here. Trust your higher self. Trust your God, your Kundalini, that it will do what needs to be done in order to materialize your healing upon this planet. Okay? Inhale. Look at the message. Hold for 7 seconds. Exhale. Give the energy to your first self with the command to shine that message with the energy to the Kundalini. And do it again and again and again. Over and over and over. And then, after you're done with 9 minutes or your 15 minutes or your 21 minutes of doing this, forget about it completely. Forget about it completely. Go do your work, turn some music on, do some heavy exercise, try as best you can to absolutely forget it. This takes you and your ego out of the way of trying to control how this is done. I see, Elizabeth, you're typing something here. And I'm going to wait for you a little bit here. EDJ, or G, EDG, Elizabeth, E. Go ahead and eventually I guess that'll reach us here, what you're typing. While she's typing, I want you to go ahead and breathe in again. Hold it for 7 seconds. Make sure that you look at the message as you breathe in. Send that energy to the first self or your ego self. Tell the ego self to shine that energy through that message, just like a movie, onto the Kundalini and give it to the Kundalini completely. Oh, here we are. Because we wrote down today with today's date, do we then change the date each day? If you like, you can do that. Yeah, because the threads will still connect the two prayer days that you've given. You know, those threads, regardless of what date you're calling it, what your mind is calling it, those threads automatically intertwine. Okay, so you can date it or not. But if it helps you to keep time of what you're doing, then go ahead and date it. Try not to let a day go by that you don't do this. In other words, make a commitment out of this and keep that commitment. And I know, I'm asking a lot of you because we're coming into the holiday season, the season of giving. Hello, Kuna prayer. It's a season of giving. And let us give to this world. And if we give to this world, we give to ourselves at the same time. Okay? Really give to this. Don't skip a day. Don't miss a day. If you find yourself in a position where you're not in a dimly lit room or in a comfortable place, if you can just take those 9 minutes, wherever you are, seated in your car, just before you pull out of the parking spot you're in, give 9 minutes to this Fukushima healing. Really do this, because this really works. I have tried it myself. I cannot, and I'm not allowed to give to you on these blog talk radios and on the writings that I've done. I cannot give to you information that I have not tried or experienced myself. Oh, I see why it's choppy. Huh. Anyway, do this every day for the next 28 to 30 days. You choose the next 28 to 30 days. And John, that goes for you too. John, I want you to do this too. You didn't think I was watching you there, did you? John, as much as you play poker, I want you to do this prayer. Let's put it that way. Amelia, you can also teach your son to do this as well. Okay. Any of you with children or spouses that, you can mention the word Kundalini to, and they don't get really angry or they don't interrupt you and say, I'll stop talking about that. Any of you that have spouses or loved ones who can hear this information, feel free to teach them this information. It's time that we learn how to, on the West, in the Western techno-civilization, it's time we learn how to power pray. And remember, at the end, you take off any expectation. You totally forget as much as you can about what it is you have just done. You go about your day, you go Christmas shopping, you go into Walmart and you spend like a crazy person. Better yet, you go to a store that is locally owned and operated, and even though they may not have the cheapest things, you know that not only are you helping the person you're buying the gift for, but you're also helping the people who are private store owners. It's not going to a big conglomerate. I mean, how much money do the children of Sam? How much money do they need? Come on. Keep going with this. Inhale. Look at the picture. Look at the message as you inhale. Hold for 7 seconds. Exhale. Feel the energy and give it to your first self with the instruction to project that message you hold in your hands right now to your Kundalini with the power of the mana attached to it. Embrace this really as a way to help solve the problems of the world, to help solve your own issues. You can use this on yourself, although I have to state, and Max Freedom Long stated it as well, and so did the Kahunas, if you do it for the benefit of another, it works faster. So because you're doing this for Fukushima, you're not just doing it for Fukushima. You're doing it for all life. You're doing it for the Japanese people. You're doing it for the people in California on the West Coast. You're doing it for the people in the Hawaiian Islands. You're doing it for the people in any of the Pacific atolls or islands. The radiation is going everywhere. Wherever there's ocean, that radiation is going. So this is a great service to humanity, a beautiful service to all life on this world. For long enough, humanity has been putting out energies that are destructive to this planet, this environment. Now, you are being given an opportunity to correct that mistake. You are being given an opportunity to correct that mistake. And if we can lift ourselves out of our day-to-day, I'll use the word drudgery of work, going to work, getting the kids off to school, getting in the car, landing at work, doing work, coming back home, sleeping, doing it all over again, day in, day out, day in, day out. If you can do this gift of a healing every day, day in, day out, you'll make a huge difference in this world. A huge difference. And don't be surprised to see the world start taking greater notice just after this healing that we're doing today, tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you are on this planet. Yeah, you're going to see a great upsurge in interest in Fukushima and what can be done. And you can add the Kundalini works in very, very, very strong and different ways than what you're expected or what your expectation would be within a 5-sense understanding. The greater attention is also part of the Kundalini's healing of Fukushima for this planet, because people need to know the error of their ways. They need to learn from these errors. And part of what you're doing is showing divinity that you have indeed learned the error of these ways, that, you know, you don't get to have cheap energy at the cost of the environment. You know, the environment needs to come first. Cheap energy, a far distant second. Okay? And you don't expect to have total and complete control over the environment. Matter of fact, you get very little control over the environment. You can manifest ways that will allow the environment to nurture you just as much as it has been, but even more so. You know, the only reason we have nuclear power stations is because we've chosen not to take solar or wind or wave energy, any of the other many, many options that have been given to us. We chose nuclear because it's easy and you can charge for it. I mean, look at a nuclear power station. It's fuel rods that are compacted rods of uranium. I don't know if it's 238 or whatever it is, whatever the number is. And they're all, you know, they're put into one centralized area. The water is pumped around them to cool it. Well, they boil the water because they're so hot, and that boiling water is what produces the turbine, the energy that the turbines use to develop electricity. It's very easy. Very easy to do. It's just not so easy to take care of, because eventually those fuel rods are going to have to be put somewhere. Okay, so by doing this healing on Fukushima right now, we're doing a healing really on the whole idea of nuclear energy. And I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not putting any kind of a judgment on it. I'm just saying it's, you know, within an earthquake or a tsunami, well, you know, those little pathetic structures that we put around these extremely hot nuclear rods, you know, they're not going to hold. We're going to have problems like are happening right now in Fukushima, but also happened in Chernobyl. Let's not forget Chernobyl here. Okay. Keep breathing. Keep doing this. Let me know of any difficulty that any of you may be having right now. Should our eyes be closed after we read it, or visual words? You can choose whether to close your eyes or not. Try not to control so much. I mean, I know what you're saying. I mean, when I close my eyes, I automatically see the words all lit up with energy. And so if you're seeing that, then just give it to your first self and go that way. Now, if you're in a position where you can have your eyes closed, then do it that way. You read it, close your eyes, do the breathing, and then give it and give it to the first self, and then with the command, shine this as energy and request to the Amakua or the Kundalini. Amakua and Kundalini are really the same things. It's the same things, and just life here is really amazing in its intricacies. Just amazing. So I will ask my dog to duplicate my efforts as well. No, I don't think so. I know you're being. I hope you're being humorous with that. No. Take this very, very seriously. This is not just something that this isn't a cartoon type of technique. This technique has been used for thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years. This is a technique that's been hidden from the people of the West because the people of the West needed to have the experience of being dominated by people from the West. So we're starting to break out of that. Okay. Let this be the start of you breaking out of that. Okay. I can get into more of the of the Huna, but I just want you to get this very, very simple technique down. And so what Lauren wrote was very, very. That's an excellent question. Should we keep our eyes open or closed? Well, keep your eyes open or closed. You choose, but once you choose, let that be the decision that you've made for this entire 28 to 30 days. Okay? And don't forget to make your separations. What that is that's forgetting about it, taking yourself out of the way, out of the expectation. Well, I did a healing, therefore I better look at the news about Fukushima to see what happened. Take that out. All that's going to do is get in the way of the transmission between yourself, your ego, and your Kundalini. Make your separations. So at the end of the 9, 15, or 21 minutes, you do something absolutely different from sitting. You do something absolutely different from breathing in a gentle way. You do something absolutely different from anything that you were doing with the first self and the third self, the Kundalini self. So if you're just sitting there, let me use Fashji because he wants his dog to be a part of this. And so, okay. So the best way for the dog to be a part of this is as Fashji is sitting there in his chair and he's got the message in his hand and he's looking at that message. And we'll just say Fashji closes his eyes and he sees the message. He's holding his breath for 7 minutes, collecting that energy, changing it from prana to mana. And then he exhales and he feels that energy and he gives that energy to the first self, the ego self, with the instruction to project it with this energy to Amakua or Kundalini. And he does this for 21 minutes. And then he immediately gets up, he thanks the Kundalini, he thanks the first self, and he takes the dog for a walk or a run, a nice joggy walk, maybe. So the dog is part of it. The dog is part of his separation sequence. Okay? And this, I think, would work very well. So if you have small children at home, well, then go out and do something with the kids. Okay? If you're a single person, go out and go see a movie. In a way, you can kind of like see how that might be projecting to the Amakua. But do something radically different than what you were doing as you were giving the prayer. Okay. Now, I'm going to open this up to questions. You can call in here. The area code is United States area code 347. So for those of you calling from outside the United States, you can dial 001 and then 347-934-0026. So 347-934-0026. I'll stay on for a little while just to see if anybody is going to call. I'm going to bring Amelia on right now, Amelia. So get ready, Amelia, to come on. Here you go. There you are. Hi, Amelia.
I'm on. Hi, Chrism. Hello.
Have you been able to follow this?
Yes, I have. I'm a little bit familiar with it, having read something of Max Freedom long before, and also the Lomi Lomi massage is a Hawaiian thing. I'm familiar with it, so yes, I've been able to follow it. But your explanation has been quite clear, anyway, for people listening to it for the first time, I think. Do you know what I'd love to do, Chrism? I wonder if it's possible. Would we be able to give, at some stage before you finish, 5-7 minutes of us just doing this together without any
great
talk?
idea. Let's do that right now.
Could we play? How do we do that if there's silence? Would we play music, or I just have the Ascension CD here, but I don't know if that's appropriate or not.
Oh.
If it's silent,
no, I don't want. I don't want the music to distract people, and it might distract people. I can just give people a notice. Okay, everybody. Everybody, I'm going to put you on hold there, Amelia. Okay, everybody. Then this is great. This is a great idea from Amelia, and let's go ahead and do this. So we have approximately 13 or 14 people right now on the chat that we're able to see. I understand that Blog Talk doesn't really give you a full listing of who all's here. So we're going to take, at 4:25, we're going to take 7 minutes. And we will be doing, all of us, myself included, we will be doing this for 7 minutes. And I will wake you up, so to speak, from the 7 minutes that we're doing this, okay? So do we have any, I guess if everybody's ready, let's go ahead, and I got 4:23 now. So I want you to all get ready, get yourself situated, get your little message written out about how you'd like to see Fukushima healed. Have the opportunity, turn the lights down a little bit. See if you can be alone with this, if you can. If you can't, that's okay too. Get ready to do some breathing. Get yourself focused and relaxed and say hello. You won't hear this from me too often. Now say hello to your ego self. This is your first self. And say hello to yourself, your higher mental functioning self. And tell the ego that you send a hello and salutations to the Kundalini through it, through the ego self. And as you do that, settle back into your chair, look at your message, and begin. Okay, everyone, gently come back. Gently come back. Open your eyes if you've had them closed. Open your eyes And release yourself from what it is you have just done. Recognize what it is you have just done. Write everything down. Listen to this program again if you need to. But do this every day for the next 28 to 30 days. Every day. Try to do it at the same time every day. Try to do it with the same level of food in your stomach every day. Try to replicate what you've just done right now every day for the next 28 to 30 days. Okay? Do this. Now, if you have any questions, feel free to call United States area code 347-934-0026. So that's 347-934-0026. And Amelia, I'm bringing you on. Hello, Amelia.
Hello, Chrism. Thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. That was a great idea, too. That was the whole reason for doing this. So very, very good. Now, for the next 28 to 30 days, regardless of where we are on this world, on this globe, we can do this and still be connected by the threads of energy that we have developed today, tonight, whatever time it is, with any of you that are listening to this, including those who listen on the archives, because your energetic threads will tie in with ours. Now, Amelia, do you have any questions that you think people might ask?
No, Chrism. Let me see.
Ask John if he has any questions.
Doing that now. 2 seconds. Hang on. Hi, Chrism. He doesn't have any questions, but he wasn't fully doing it really. He's been listening, but he didn't participate because he was, as you said, playing poker.
Yeah.
But he is going to he is going to do it all right after today, every day.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah.
And
actually, I will also include Jonathan in this.
Okay,
and my son, as you suggested, yes. I think it's a very good thing that we could do together, that he could do and learn.
And Rosemary, how has it been going for you?
This is good, Chrism, and thank you, Amelia, for that suggestion. My question is practical thing of where my thoughts are. I can just do like one of these things at once, like if I'm counting. So if I was reading my prayer first, and then the count to the 7 seconds, and then letting it go and asking the ego to take it to my Kundalini. So when I'm doing my intention and my prayer, is that like before the 7 seconds and holding my breath before that, or that's just normal breathing?
You read the message. Okay, you read it once, then you inhale, you hold for 7 seconds, and then you send the energy that you developed to the first self or the ego self with the instruction to shine it like a projection onto the Kundalini or the Amakua.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's see here. Go there
and
like that.
There's a few, and then for me there would be a few breaths at that time. It's there's a couple of breaths, and then it's back into it again. And for me, I opened and closed my eyes this time because I wanted to read the words. So I read the words.
For those that have the Kundalini already awake, you can literally feel the energy collecting over the top of your head. Did you, Amelia?
Yes, I absolutely did. And therefore, yes, I did. And so the breath thing went then, and then I came back and did that in a conscious way. But then once it's given, I don't know what happened. I wasn't then consciously breathing. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, once it's given, it's gone. Don't try to follow it.
It's gone. Yeah, exactly.
It's gone. And then you just go back and you breathe again, but you don't try to follow it. You don't try to attach to it.
No,
okay,
but also it's not.
Can you put on your headphones, please? Yeah, because we're getting kind of a repeat here. Yeah, you don't attach to, and that's going to be the hard thing, because your ego is going to want to find out what's under the Christmas tree. And you don't get to know the gift that is being given to Fukushima. You may, in the longer view, you may get to know, but in the short view, no, you don't get to. Elizabeth Dalton, thank you for joining us. Thank you very much. Go to class, have a great class, and we'll see you next time. Thank you for listening. And looks like we've got about 21 minutes left for anybody who would like to call in. So the area code again, United States area code 347-934-0026. Feel free to call in. Amelia is off trying to find her headphones, I'm sure. And so we'll give her a chance to do that. Now, you can do this for yourself. You can do this for more money. You can do this for a new house. You can do this for a new car. You can do this for a new job. You can do this for you too. This isn't all about just giving to somebody else, unless, of course, you have other instructions like I have from the Kundalini. You can do this for yourself, and so I encourage you to do this for yourself. If you've got an ailing spouse or a spouse that's having issues of a energetic or health nature, do this for them. Teach them how to do this for themselves. It's really a powerful, strong prayer, and it is the way that the early people knew about prana and mana, all of these things. It's just that we, in our technologically advanced society, we don't have that information in our current expression, and except now we have it. And I would like to put out a thank you to Max Freedom Long, even though he has passed. I'd like to put out a thank you to him and to the kahunas of the early 19th century. They're the ones that taught him. Now you won't find this information at kahuna.com or huna.com or any of this stuff. All of these folks are really they've turned it into kind of a Reiki thing where you pay them a whole bunch of money and then they'll show you how to be a kahuna. They'll show you how to work with huna. The only person that I will suggest, and this is the only person that I will suggest you pay attention to, is Max Freedom Long. Not the people that he left his books and rights to. Those people are the ones that have turned into a commercial operation. Okay? You just read Max Freedom Long's words. Those are the words that I will suggest that you trust. He's passed, okay? He's passed, but there's a presence there within his words. He's a good teacher of Huna, okay? And he doesn't come at it, from the racial problems that they're having in Hawaii right now. There's all kinds of racial unrest and right so, I'm sure. So, with regards to present day modern Huna or Kahuna, I don't recommend any of them. I don't recommend a single one. Your Kundalini and the information that Max Freedom put down should work well with your Kundalini. Take that as the gospel truth. Okay, nobody that's got any other kind of an agenda, whether it's through recognition or what it is, don't accept their words on this unless they're paraphrasing or not paraphrasing, unless they're repeating, almost verbatim Max Freedom Law. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to see.
Bashji, how are you? And how is your dog?
Well, as to be expected. I just wanted to point out something that occurred to me as I was practicing along with the rest of the folk here. I'm going to try to mute myself here. This is an excellent example of the safeties and this selfless service to others, and I thought it was just a perfect thing to bring out that this is a way in which we can serve others as a part of the safeties, this particular practice, because it's not for us, yet it is, because we're on the other side of the Pacific Ocean. But I thought that it was something that I wanted to say as far as service. It's a wonderful example of incorporating this into the selfless service part of the practice, and I wanted to pass that by you and see what you thought.
No, I agree, and it is for us too, because we're on the planet. But it is a very good way to give selfless service. Now, it doesn't take away from the actions of buying somebody a lunch, or letting somebody cut in front of you on the freeway, or go ahead of you in the line, or any of
right.
the many little things that we do for others. This doesn't replace that. This is in conjunction with that.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to keep going with this. Julie and Amelia have created pages on Facebook that allow us to collect large groups of people. I want to collect a bunch of Japanese people. I have one Japanese student on the Yahoo, and I'm going to talk to her about getting some more Japanese people involved. I'm sure they're so frustrated that they're trying to figure out all different kinds of ways to work on their own island and to take care of this in their own way, and I think this would be a very helpful way for them to do that for themselves as well.
I agree. Well, that's pretty much it, and a bit about my dog is he's been actively participating in meditation for over 2 years now, and
well, there you go. Well, that's great.
And animals have so little of ego in their lives and their consciousness that I thought it might be something that was useful, and it wasn't meant to be a joke or anything like that.
Well, I'm sure I'm good with it. I'm sure your dog knows, and as does Lasha. She knows the kind of work I do, and so I'm sure your dog knows the kind of work you do too. So
absolutely,
no worries there.
Absolutely.
And thank you for calling in, Bashji. Thank you.
And thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right. There we go, and there you go. And did you find your headphones, Amelia?
I have my headphones on all the time, Chrism.
Oh, I wonder why I was hearing that echo. Weird. Anyway, okay, so I'm about ready wrap this up, do you have anything that you'd like to say before we go?
No, nothing.
Okay, all right, very good. Thank you, Amelia, for co-hosting, and I'll talk with you a little bit after we finish up here. And everyone, Celestial Rubies, Fasci, guest 1702, guest 1733, 1795, 1834, 5875, Sigrid, Tim Ashworth. Thank you all for joining me in this conversation about your Kundalini awakening system. And remember, for those of you that have awakened Kundalini, you can actually feel the deposit of the energy about maybe 6 to 10 inches above the top of your head. Okay? Anyway, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you those in the archives for joining with us. Thank you Glenn Ola and Eileen Lauro and John O'Connor, Amelia Sigrid and Tim and Julie and everybody. As I mentioned before, I'm going to be collecting different groups of people, and I'll be doing this again and again and again. So if you're interested in participating in those groups, then we'll go ahead and do that too. Thank you all for joining.